First tonight, it's a legal battle that both sides are desperate to win.
Despite a federal judge's ruling to halt the FDA approval of a commonly used abortion pill, Rhode Island and Massachusetts governors say they are taking steps to ensure access to the medication. 12
News reporter Anita Buffoni joins us now live in studio with the developments. Anita?
Well, Mike and Kim, the Massachusetts governor will be stockpiling doses of the abortion pill, mifepristone, to maintain access for women. And while Rhode Island's governor didn't offer a specific plan, the sentiment is the same. Massachusetts and Rhode Island leaders plan to protect a woman's ability to get a medical abortion in those states.
We were going to make sure that we had enough mifepristone here in the state to cover women for as long as they need it. Women in Massachusetts, anyone who needs it.
Democratic Governor Maura Healey announced Monday the state requested UMass Amherst purchase 15,000 doses of the pill. Healey also signed an executive order protecting medical abortions under state law. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee also wants to ensure access to mifepristone, the most common abortion pill. He's consulting with the Department of Health to figure out how to address this issue locally.
We certainly would continue to partner in with states that believe, as Rhode Island does, that a woman's right to choose should be protected in all aspects.
One Republican senator called the judge's ruling a victory. Rhode Island has joined a lawsuit with 17 other states to protect access to the medication, which has been approved by the FDA for more than 2 decades. Attorney General Peter Neronha said in a statement, through these actions and the steps taken previously, this office is prepared to fight to ensure women's access to reproductive health care remains unimpeded. A Texas federal judge last week halted the 23-year FDA approval of the abortion pill. Shortly after that ruling, a federal court judge in Washington state ruled the status quo should not change. And just a couple hours ago, the Justice Department appealed that Texas judge's ruling, asking the order be paused until the appeal is decided. I'm Anita Buffoni, 12 News.
As expected, the Biden administration has formally appealed a Texas judge's abortion pill ruling, calling it, quote, extraordinary and unprecedented. In the meantime, we're hearing from both Governor Dan McKee and Governor Maura Healey about what they'll do to make sure the drug is available in both Rhode Island and Massachusetts. 12 News reporter Anita Buffoni tells us what they had to say. Anita.
Future access to mifepristone is in limbo with 2 conflicting federal court rulings over the abortion pill. But Rhode Island and Massachusetts leaders are clear. They want to ensure it remains accessible to women. Massachusetts is taking matters into their own hands by protecting access to mifepristone for women seeking an abortion.
Abortion will remain safe, legal, and accessible here in Massachusetts.
Democratic Governor Maura Healey announced Monday the state requested UMass Amherst purchase 15,000 doses of the pill. Healey also signed an executive order protecting medical abortions under state law. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee didn't outline specifics, but the sentiment is similar.
We'll be linking into the governors, both regionally and nationally, in terms of how they're addressing it to make sure that Rhode Island is doing everything we can to support the woman's right to choose.
Meanwhile, at least one Republican senator is calling the ruling a victory for pregnant mothers and their unborn children. Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Neronha joined a lawsuit with 17 other states to protect access to medical abortions, saying in a statement, through these actions and the steps taken previously, this office is prepared to fight to ensure women's access to reproductive health care remains unimpeded. A Texas federal judge last week halted the 23-year FDA approval of the most common abortion pill. Shortly after that ruling, a federal judge in Washington state ruled the status quo should not change. Now this afternoon, the Justice Department appealed that Texas judge's ruling, asking the order be paused until the appeal is decided. I'm Anita Buffoni, 12 News.